Let me tell you a story about how a quiet man, a patch of forgotten farmland, and a power-hungry HOA turned a simple property dispute into a $1.3 million lesson in arrogance. My name's Tyler Quinn. I live in Pine Hollow, a sleepy little town in Oregon that still has more cows than people, and where everyone nods to each other at the gas station. I inherited my property from my grandfather, a 12-acre spread just beyond the reach of the town's newest development, a shiny, soulless gated community called Cedar Ridge Meadows. Now, my land, it's old school, a weathered red barn, a field of wild rye that turns gold in the summer, and a wraparound porch where my grandfather used to drink black coffee and watch the sun rise. I work from home as a software consultant, live alone, keep to myself, peaceful, until one morning, that peace shattered. I found a letter duct-taped, yes, duct-taped, to my fence post, scrawled in red marker like a ransom note. It wasn't from the town, wasn't from a neighbor. It was from the HOA of Cedar Ridge Meadows. The note read, "As of July 1st, the eastern section of your lot is designated as shared community space. Please remove any personal property within 72 hours or risk penalties." No signature, just a stamp that read, Cedar Ridge Planning Committee. I read it 3 times, blinked, and laughed out loud. Because my land was never part of their development. Never had been. But these people weren't asking. They were declaring. And they had no idea who they were messing with. 2 days later, a black Range Rover pulled into my gravel drive. Out stepped Claire Wesson, the HOA president. Think Martha Stewart meets Cruella de Vil. Perfect manicure, lavender cashmere sweater draped over her shoulders, clipboard in hand, like she was hosting a country club brunch. Behind her were 2 men. One in a cheap department store suit, probably her lawyer, and another in a neon vest, rolling a measuring wheel across my field like he was surveying the Garden of Eden. Claire didn't even say hello, just pointed to the back of my property and said, "We're confirming new boundaries. There was a mapping error when the subdivision was approved. That pasture back there, it was never yours to begin with. We're reclaiming it as part of the Greenbelt." I asked her what map she was talking about, and she whipped out this ridiculous color-coded printout that looked like it had been made on a high school PowerPoint template. I told her my deed was registered with the county and had been unchanged since 1953. She smiled sweetly and said, "Oh, we'll get that corrected." Then she turned to her survey guy and said, "Start measuring from the fence post." That was the moment I knew something deeper was going on. This wasn't a mistake. This was a move. You see, Claire wasn't just your average HOA tyrant. She was an ex-city planner who'd retired here after being quietly pushed out for ethics violations involving backdoor land deals. And rumor had it, she was planning to run for city council, wanted to turn Cedar Ridge into a model community to boost her image. My land stood in the way of her dream. What she didn't know was that 6 months earlier, I'd signed a confidentiality agreement with a small mining outfit doing exploratory tests on rare earth deposits beneath my eastern field. Nothing final yet, but promising. Very promising. The kind of discovery that could turn my quiet pasture into a gold mine. And now this woman was trying to turn it into a yoga park. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I just walked back into the house, opened the old safe under my floorboards, and pulled out the original deed. Handwritten, stamped, and still bearing the metal coordinates my grandfather installed himself. I scanned it, emailed it to my attorney, and then I started filming. 3 days later, the HOA sent in a crew. Fence posts, community access only signs, even a marble bench overlooking the hills on my property. Claire posed next to it for their monthly newsletter, calling it a win for green space preservation. Meanwhile, I was gathering time-stamped photos, drone footage, even caught them hosting a family picnic on my land, with strangers tossing frisbees over my corn rows. One guy even asked if there were restrooms nearby. Another woman told me I needed to mow the HOA's grass. Still, I said nothing, because every trespass, every unauthorized structure, was another nail in their legal coffin. And then came the flyer. Claire mailed out a glossy, full-color brochure to the entire subdivision, announcing the opening of Hollow Hill Park, claiming the HOA had graciously reclaimed neglected land for the benefit of the community. She even gave herself credit for navigating a complex boundary dispute with compassion. That was it. I called my lawyer, Noah, the kind of guy who looks like he eats legal briefs for breakfast. He'd once sued a billboard company for $800K, just for blocking someone's ocean view. I sent him everything. The deed, the footage, even the TikTok of a teenager doing flips on my tractor. Noah took one look and said, "They're screwed. Let's make them pay." He drafted a cease and desist, followed by a lawsuit, unauthorized land use, trespassing, interference with commercial interests, and defamation. Claire tried to backpedal fast, emailed me a friendly proposal to lease the land for $200 a year. I forwarded it to Noah, who laughed so hard he spilled coffee on the complaint. Then came the courtroom. Claire showed up in pearls and panic. Her lawyer, a guy who looked like he Googled how to sue back, mumbled about misunderstandings and community rights. But Noah brought the heat. He showed the deed, the GPS coordinates, the drone videos, the mineral contracts, and then he dropped the bomb. The court went silent when he explained that their little park had delayed a prospective mineral deal worth millions, that their flyers defamed me, that their fence literally blocked access to a potential extraction site. The judge leaned forward and asked, "Did the HOA build structures on land they did not own?" Claire's lawyer started to say, "Technically," but the judge cut him off. "That's a yes. We asked for $1.3 million in damages." The judge didn't blink. He ruled in our favor, ordered immediate removal of all HOA installations, court costs, and a formal letter of retraction to be mailed to every single resident. Claire resigned the next week. But it didn't stop there. Turns out, Claire wasn't even legally qualified to serve on the board. Her primary residence was 2 counties away. State investigators uncovered misused funds, rigged elections, and unapproved expenses. Within 3 months, Cedar Ridge Meadows voted to dissolve the HOA entirely. They liquidated assets to pay their debts, pool chairs, gym equipment. Even Claire's precious marble bench was sold at auction for $17. I used part of my settlement to restore the barn and plant new trees along the true property line. And right where the community bench used to be, I installed a wooden sign carved from reclaimed oak. It reads, "Private property, trespassers will be invoiced." And beneath it, I framed a check for $1, the symbolic rent the new HOA board offered me after the dust settled. I accepted on one condition: they install a bronze plaque at the clubhouse that reads, "This community attempted to seize private land. We now pay rent." They did. It's still there. Sometimes I stand at the edge of that field, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise over land they tried to steal, not out of spite, out of satisfaction. Because in the end, they didn't just lose a lawsuit, they lost their illusion of control. So what do you think? Was the HOA just blindly following bad leadership? Or was this a calculated land grab fueled by power and ego? Have you or someone you know ever dealt with an HOA nightmare like this? Drop your thoughts and stories in the comments. I read every one of them, and trust me, you're not alone. Thanks for watching.